Hey guys, Lorraine back with you for another card video. Decided to make a Halloween card today, so I'm going to be pulling out a couple of Simon Says stamp sets. Going to be using Boo Crew, which was limited edition for Stamp-Temper 2020, no longer available to purchase. And I'll also be using Happy Haunting. That itself came in a limited edition kit, which is no longer available to purchase, but the stamp set itself is available. So you could head over to Simon Says Stamp to pick up Happy Haunting if you'd like it. Going to be doing some ink blending. So I'm using a piece of Bristol, Strathmore Bristol cardstock. It's cut a little bit bigger than 4.5 by 6.5. I will be cutting it down. The first thing I did was make a mask. I don't have any stencils that have any sort of rolling hills, and I do want a hill and some sky there. So I applied that mask, and I'm using Crackling Campfire, Blueprint Sketch, Seedless Preserves, Black Soot, peeled paint, and Twisted Citron Distress Oxides. If all you have is the inks, you could do this just as easily. I just prefer the oxides. They blend better, they layer better. Even orange and purple, which you would normally think would give you a mud color, because of the formulation of these oxides, they do blend really nicely. So try some different color combinations. You may find that you get something really awesome. Even those colors that you would think normally would give you mud might give you a really nice design. So I started out with the Crackling Campfire at the first layer, then moved up to the Seedless Preserves, the Blueprint Sketch, working my way up, working my way back down, making sure I go over each color a couple of times because I do want a nice blend. Don't want a very harsh line of demarcation there. This is actually the very first time that I'm using the Crackling Campfire, and I have to admit, I'm really liking it. Really good color. And I did not get that mud color with the orange and the purple overlay, so I'm very happy about that. You will be using both sides of your mask. So the rolling hill mask you'll be using when you're inking the sky like you see here. You'll also be using the other half of that mask to cover up the inked sky when you're inking your rolling hills. You don't want to get any of the green in the orange because you don't want that to blend like that. You want a nice line there. So I only had like 3 or 4 handles for the applicators, and I didn't want to have to keep pulling the foam tip off. So at one point there I was using my hands. Yeah, do what I say, not as I do, because that did not work well. So I'm going to go ahead and clean off my mat. Again, this is the Waffle Flower Mixed Media mat. It's just a big hunk of silicone, keeps the paper from shifting. It's really good because it's a bright white, it's a true white. So if you put your inks or your paints on there, you're going to get true colors when you look at them. So you're not getting any contamination from a colored background. So I pulled off the mask, but then I realized, hey, I want to do some stars or some sort of light or glimmer in the sky. So I put the mask back on, just pulled out some glimmer acrylic liquid, give it a good shake, and then use a paintbrush and just go to town. This is a definitely to taste situation. Put on as many splatters, sprinkles as you want. If you want it heavier, do it heavier. If you want it lighter, do it lighter. It's, like I said, it's definitely to taste. The one thing you want to make sure you do, though, is wash out your paintbrush relatively quickly because if it's acrylic, you don't want it to mess up the bristles on your watercolor paintbrush, which that is. So again, do as I say, not as I do. I'm going to take a little mini mister there, just give some water splatter. If you've worked with oxides or inks in the distress line, you know that if you apply the water and then blot it, you're going to get that water splashed, watercolory effect, which is what I was going for in the sky there. Give it a little bit of a shake. If you want, you can use your heat tool and blast it with some heat to dry that ink. I just went for it. I'm going to apply the mask over the top of the sky. Now, I did leave a little bit of line there. You can see just a little bit of that orange at the very bottom of that mask. I did that to avoid ghosting. When you ink up your green grass, if you bring that mask all the way down so it's completely covering your orange, when you take off that mask, you're going to find that you have a little bit of a ghost, a little bit of a white line. Didn't want that. Definitely wanted a seamless blend between the green grass and then the beginning of the Crackling Campfire sky. So when I take that off, you'll see that there is a flawless, seamless continuation of color between the green up into the orange. There we go. No white lines. Perfect. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but that acrylic shimmer really does shimmer very nicely. So clean everything up, and then due to the glory and wonder of YouTube, poof, I was able to stamp out color and cut out some of the images from the stamp sets. I will admit that I'm not a fantastic colorist. I'm not overly comfortable with it. It takes me a long time. And in all honesty, I stamped these out and colored them 3 times before I found something that I liked. So I chose not to subject you through that torture. You're welcome. So I did it off camera. And when I finally got a set of the images that I liked, I used the coordinating dies on the images that had them. And then on the other ones, I just ran it through my brother's scan and cut. So I got them all cut out. And then I was going to lay out my scene. I kind of had an idea what I was going to do for my scene before. I had made a similar card in a slimline, but I wanted to try to do something a little bit different. So I'm doing the 5x7. So I'm just going to take a Copic in a green, any color green Copic you want. And I just drew a little bit of a hill, completely optional, don't have to do it. I just thought it looked better. That way the tree wasn't just kind of floating in the air there, kind of grounded a little bit. Did the same thing for the headstone. And then I will use my Nouveau glue, which is my liquid glue of preference, and start adhering the die cut images into place. This card is going to be measuring 5x7. So that initial white piece that I was ink blending on was a little bit larger. I did cut it down to 4.5 by 6.5. The orange panel that goes behind it would be a 1/4 inch bigger, so that would be 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And then I almost always use a white heavyweight cardstock base, regardless of whether it's A2, A7, or slimline. So this particular card base was cut to 10 by 7 and then scored at 5, and it equals a 5x7 white card base. Putting the little owl on top of the headstone there, I thought that was just so cute. And I love the cats, how the one cat is kind of like eyeing that bat, and then the other one is hiding behind the pumpkin looking at the headstone. I just thought it was absolutely adorable. Simon Says Stamp is one of my favorite brands of stamps to buy. Their designs are just adorable. They're cute. They're functional. I just love them. And when I was coloring those images, I did use one of my glitter pens. I believe it might have been the Nouveau or possibly even the Spectrum Noir. I'm not sure which one I grabbed. But I did put some glitter on the moon and the witch's hat on top of that top cat there, just to give it a little more shine, sparkle, kind of blend that into the shine and sparkle that I had in the background. Excuse me. I'm gonna use my tape gun and just get some tape on the back of that. I'm also going to use the liquid Nouveau around the edges. This panel is very wet. There is a lot of ink on that. And obviously we all know that what happens when you put water on paper is it tends to warp. So I wanted to make sure that the edges of that panel did not warp and lift up from the orange panel as it dried, because it is still kind of wet. I did not take a heat tool to it. So I just wanted to make sure that the edges were fully adhered down to that piece. So I used both tape runner and liquid glue. Go ahead and adhere it down to my card base. I always do flip everything over and rub it from the back. That way I'm not smudging. Again, do as I'm telling you, not as I have done in the past, because I have made that mistake. I'm going to go ahead and use my VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I'm going to stamp up my little jack-o'-lantern face to apply to those 2 pumpkins. And that's going to wrap that card up. Hope you guys like it. Head over to Simon Says Stamp for that Happy Haunting stamp set. Have a great day, guys. Thanks.